Still Poddable, still Poddable. Boston Celtics, still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah! Still Poddable, still Poddable. Boston Celtics, still Poddable, still Poddable. Banner 19.
Beat Rob, Jim, Packard, J. King.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The Caesar on the court to get another ring.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
Everybody in the chat now sing.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. Still Poddable, still Poddable. Boston Celtics, still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah!
Shut your ass up.
Daddy's always happening here.
Welcome back to Still Poddable, the best Celtics podcast here on the CLNS YouTube page. This is the weekly free show. That means we are brought to you by Prize Picks. We are Still Poddable, the best Celtics podcast here on Al Gore's internet. Have podcasts for you every single day, Monday through Friday on patreon.com/stillpoddable. I'm Sam Packard, professional sports fan, joined by the great Jay King from The Athletic, coming to you with the best round 2 coverage of the NBA draft. I don't know why we split it into 2 days, but we did. And
that seems so unnecessary, doesn't it?
Like, I don't like. Is it supposed to be for television? Like, I don't.
Even the vibe of the television broadcast was so strange. There was only like family members and stuff. It looked like in the arena. It did not feel like a big event. And
if you were projected second round, would you go to New York, or you just like hang out with your family at your home?
I think I would probably hang out at home anyway.
If you were a lottery pick, you wouldn't go to the green room?
No, I'd be chilling with my boys.
Fair enough. You're not for the. You don't want that.
I'm not gonna want to be in a suit, buttoned up.
Yeah, you're not a suit guy. Not even a big fancy
Let me
suit
just
like
sit on
Ace
my
Bailey.
couch watching with everyone I love. That seems a lot more great to me than actually being there and like going up and shaking Adam Silver's hand. Like, I don't need that.
You know what annoys me most about the draft presentation is that when the trades happen and they still make the guy put on the hat for the team that he's not even going to go to. Like, they can't update it because the trades aren't official. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about the Boston Celtics. The Celtics came into the night with the 32nd pick, so the second pick of the second round. Apparently, the guy they were targeting, and I've already forgotten who that guy is, was drafted by 31, and then the Celtics trade down, exchanged that 32 pick for, what was it, the 46 and the 57 in this draft.
And then 2 future seconds.
And 2 future seconds. So they turned 1 second-round pick into 4 second-round picks, which is pretty good value if you're trying to figure that out. They drafted center from Kentucky, Amari Williams, and then with the 57th pick, Max Shulga. Now, Jay, you know ball. Tell me about Amari Williams first, because he seems like a guy with a team with, like, we don't know what's going to happen at the center position. This guy is 7 feet tall. Did he play 5 years in college?
5 years, 4 at Drexel, 1 at Kentucky. He can really pass, so he has an interesting skill set.
Love me a big
not
man
even just skill
pass.
set. Interesting combination of size and enormous wingspan, 7'6" wingspan, and then just an ability to kind of facilitate, handle a little bit, pass it. You can run some stuff through him, and so that's pretty exciting with his size. There aren't many guys who are, 255 pounds, 6'10", with a 7'6" wingspan, and can also have court vision. That's just pretty rare. And he was super productive when he played. He never really played too many minutes. I don't know whether that's because of conditioning, whatever else. But even when he was at Drexel, the most he ever played was 27.4 minutes per game. The other years, he was under 23 minutes per game, including at Kentucky, where he played 22.8 minutes per game. And if you look at his per 40 minute stats, like, he was a monster. 19 points, 15 rebounds, almost 6 assists per 40 minutes. So it was super productive when he was on the court. But there are definitely questions about whether he has the mobility, whether he'll be like much of a roller in the NBA. He's not a shooter. So like there's a lot of question marks about how he'll translate to the NBA, how that production will translate. But he was super productive for 5 years in college, and typically like guys who are productive stay productive.
I think that skill is like rolling and being able to pass on the roll feels like the most important skill, especially for a Celtics big man. I feel like that's where we saw Luke Kornet, or at least I saw Luke Kornet take a big step in his development, is being able to get on that short roll and make the pass to the opposite corner, or at least make the right decision in that regard. And maybe it's a guy who's played a little bit more time in college, has a bit more ability to just kind of come into the league and be more NBA ready. But I think it's just an interesting question. Is like, is he? I think Zarin said, and Mike Zarin, assistant GM of the Celtics, spoke to the media afterwards. Both these guys are likely to get two-way contracts, right? And so if you give him
yeah, he did say that. I missed some of the Zoom because they left me in the waiting room.
Just you? They didn't let
I don't know
everyone
if anyone else was in, but other people were in there, and I didn't know it.
Furiously
And
texting PR.
Himmelsbach texted me something about the press conference. I thought he was just fucking with me, and then I realized he was serious, and I was like, "Yo, I'm still in the waiting room." So I missed the first, I don't know how many minutes of the press conference with Mike Zarin. So that's fun.
Tough. I hope you don't have to write tonight. I hope you're not looking.
I do.
Is Team Transcribe going to hook you up with the quotes, or what's going on here?
I am getting audio from Celtics PR.
Well, he did,
and I think B-Rob is sending it to me as well.
So. So you didn't really have.
I was there when he said that both guys will likely be on two-way contracts.
Was there a question you were going to ask that you didn't get to ask because you were in the waiting room?
So I don't know what was asked. Yeah, when you come in and you miss however many minutes, you can't ask a question.
You can't. No, you're
because
late.
You can't just potentially say the same thing that someone else did. I don't know what was talked about. So yeah, I didn't even think about asking a question. It was good times.
Were you prepared to ask a question? What was the question you most wanted to ask if you had been at the meeting?
I think the one that was most relevant, because Brad Stevens talked about a lot of the second apron stuff. The one that was most relevant was probably the one about two-way contracts, whether it was these guys would be on two-way contracts. And then it was
why is it important that they're on two-way contracts with like this? Does that mean they don't go to the salary cap? Like why is that the most important question?
Well, yeah, those don't go to the salary cap, but also just so you know what the plan is for these guys, whether they'll actually be on the roster, what the vision is for them, and what else the Celtics need to do the rest of the offseason, I suppose. And then it was asked whether like the vision for Jaylen Brown and Derek White on the team, and Zarin said that there were no serious discussions about those guys, about trades involving those guys. So I think that's kind of.
I think
there was a lot of smoke out there and speculation out there, but I never got the sense that the Celtics were close to anything, and Zarin kind of echoed that tonight.
I mean, I kind of agree that I doubt. It feels like the Celtics are pretty. Not a lot of leaks. It feels like it come from the Celtics. When the Celtics make a deal, it feels like it's usually pretty surprising. But I also don't think Zarin was going to be like, "Yeah, guys, we got pretty close on Jaylen Brown and Derek White deals." But that's neither here nor there. Getting back to the big man, I think it's important he's on a two-way contract, just because. Like there's a limit to the amount of games a two-way player can play. So like it's not like they're expecting Williams to come in and have like an immediate impact. I've seen people say like he's going to play as much as Nimi. No, Nimi's going to get serious minutes here. And I think I think they needed to just to bring in a center in terms of bodies, because right now Nimi's the only big on the roster. But I don't know if this guy's an NBA center. It's really hard to figure out anything in the second round. And that's one of the funnier things about having a whole entire second night of the draft is because, well, people on NBA Twitter love being draft experts. People get furious when certain picks go one way, when the teams don't like take the guy who they thought dropped. People all of a sudden become way more experts on basketball players, more so than I feel like people feel like more comfortable being experts on college prospects than they are sharing their opinions about guys who are currently in the league and guys they've actually seen play in the NBA. But having a whole second night of the draft, it's like no one has any fucking idea what's going to happen on the second night. Like guys who picked in the second round. It's like even more of a crapshoot than the first round evaluation is.
It is absolutely a crapshoot. It is, and I mean, sometimes the first round even can be a crapshoot.
First round is also a crapshoot. It's just a little bit
throw a curveball in there. What do you know about Max Shulga?
He was the A10 Player of the Year, two-time All A10 first team, right? Do I even have the right conference?
He did play in the A10 for 2 years after playing 3 years at Utah State. He was a teammate of Nemi's.
Yeah, they went out to dinner.
Which is hilarious because Nemi has been in the NBA for 4 seasons.
Celtics drafted a bunch of 23
The extra year in college has just left people really old. John Tonje was like 24 years old, almost 24 and a half.
Apparently, Shulga's got elite toughness. He's got elite toughness, says Mike Zarin. And so you're going to need elite toughness if you're going to be riding the bus from Maine to Boston every couple of weeks.
And he filled up the stat sheet, 15 points, 5.9 rebounds, 4 assists per game. Didn't turn it over too much for somebody who had those stats, only 1.7 per game. Took a fair amount of threes, hit 38.7% of them. So just kind of a do everything type of guy. And yeah, I would guess he'll spend a lot of time in Maine. The Celtics all of a sudden have like a crop of young wings that in Baylor Shireman, Jordan Walsh, Hugo. They still have Sam Hauser for now, at least. Though they still probably have some moves coming. I would say pretty definitively have some moves coming to shed some salary to try to get far enough under the cap to at least re-sign, or far enough under the second apron at least to re-sign Luke Kornet and Al Horford. And if they want to get under the tax, they've got still some pretty significant work to do. So more trades are coming. Brad greasing the second round picks, just adding more of those. He loves to trade down. He's sort of Belichickian in that way, I feel like.
Gotta get value. Because he knows as much it's a crapshoot too. So why not turn one crapshoot into 4 crapshoots?
I love saying afterward too, like, yeah, we got guys at 47 or 40. What was it? 46 and 57 that we pretty similar to what we would have gotten at 32. You got to love that, you know? I feel like that would be the best thing to say. Like, yeah, we suckered those guys. We got 4 second-round picks, got 2 guys around the caliber of guy we could have got at 32. Suckers.
No, the best draft spin is like we were so hoping that this guy would fall to us because we had him ranked so much higher on our draft board. That is the ultimate GM spin after any pick. Pretty much after 15 is just like, yeah, we had this guy penciled in already. We were just hoping that other teams passed on him because they're a bunch of fucking idiots and we know ball way better than them.
Well, by definition, everybody should be happy about their draft picks. Like everyone should be thrilled about their draft picks because you're picking the guy you have at the top of your board. Unless you were just like so in love with somebody else that just went right before you. But you should always be pretty happy with the guy you draft, I feel like.
Yeah, it's the ultimate confirmation bias. Unless you really thought you were going to steal someone and then someone else, like the year the Hawks, didn't the Hawks have Giannis come in and they tried to hide Giannis in a basement somewhere and made sure no one could else find out about him. And then the Bucks
sure you're not mistaking stories of the DeAndre Jordan kidnapping?
No. The Hawks were the first team to work Giannis out, and they were tried to keep him from basically leaving, and they didn't want anyone to figure out who Giannis was. And I think the Bucks drafted him 2 picks before the Hawks were able to get him. And so the Hawks were probably upset with whoever they picked that year, like one pick in front of Kelly Olynyk. No. Kelly Olynyk went before Giannis. That was the big mistake Danny Ainge made. Sorry. It's telling tales out of school.
Olynyk was a pretty good pick, though.
He's no Giannis.
Can we talk about the names of the second round?
Let's hear him. Let's
I feel
give me
like Rocco Zikarsky is just quite a name.
that name rocks.
Brooks Barnheiser. like Brooks Barnheiser. Like that's just an incredible one.
That guy's fucking awesome. No matter what, that's a cool guy.
Yeah, I just feel like the second round had some serious names. Those were the two best.
I got to ask you now, 24 hours after the pick, I'm sure you've studied up.
Lachlan Ulbrich as well.
It's no Brooks Barnheiser, but it's
Lachlan Ulbrich, though. Like that motherfucker.
All these people are just names to me. They won't be anything until 4 years from now. We go, oh wow, can you believe they got that guy in the second round? I got to ask you about Hugo, though. It's been 24 hours since the Hugo pick. I'm sure you spent some time today looking into Hugo, watching some Hugo clips. What are your thoughts on this young Spaniard, 19-year-old? He seems to be super athletic. He seems to try really fucking hard, and he just didn't play at all. So it's really hard to get a good gauge on him. But I'm curious, some time removed before the initial, I guess, surprise of the pick, what are your Hugo thoughts?
He just seems like someone who has really high intensity. Obviously he has physical gifts, like gets up quickly, can move. Some of the moves he makes handling the ball at his size are really impressive, and you can see there's like a feel there on top of the physical gifts and the skill set that he has. So you can see why Brad Stevens loves him, especially the fact that he played for such a winning team and had to just kind of, as Brad said, earn his stripes, and didn't play much, but got to learn from a lot of like serious vets who have been around professional basketball for a long time and won a lot of games overseas in the NBA, everything. And so guys like that, especially when you're young and you've experienced that already for years, like there's just you've seen it. And I know Jason Tatum has talked about like how important it was for him to be around Al Horford and to see how Al approaches it every day. And I would imagine that being a 16, 17-year-old on Real Madrid and being around some of those guys who, you know, have been around professional basketball for so long, I would imagine you soak up some of that too, and in a similar way.
He joined Real Madrid when he was 9. I mean, they've got like a much different player development system over in Europe because they have these like development.
That's just like youth leagues, though.
I know, but it's
not
still,
like he was playing professional basketball at 9.
He was professional basketball adjacent. He was playing for the club. He had the Real Madrid across the jersey. I bet he hated Barcelona. I bet he hated Inter Milan. That's totally a different country. Retract that. I don't know. I just thought it was a fun anecdote. Sorry for bringing some levity to the program. Speaking of levity, you guys can have a good time on the interweb if you download the Prize Picks app. The Prize Picks is the best way to get in on sports action in pretty much more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. It's the best place to win cash while watching sports. You can join millions of users and sign up today. The app is super easy to use. To create a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your money. It offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So again, download Prize Picks today. Use promo code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Now, Jay, you mentioned kind of you don't think the Celtics are going to be done dealing Brad mentioned in his press conference last night, kind of the desire to, one, he wanted to bring back both Al Horford and Luke Kornet. I couldn't tell if that was just saying like, yeah, we would like to have them back, but we're not going to pay him
He
that.
called it a priority, and so that means he's going to do what he thinks is necessary to get those guys back on the roster.
Well, given it's a priority and given that they want to stay under the second apron, it feels like there has to be choices to be made. There's only $4.5 million under the second apron. I think we've discussed trading away Anthony Simons, possibly for a smaller contract. There's still a possibility of getting rid of Sam Hauser. Out of those four guys,
you could shop George Niang. You could now, because you're in the first apron, you could go out and send cash. I believe you can send cash to another team to absorb a contract like Xavier Tillman's, and just go with instead of having 15 players, you could have 14 players or whatever. So there are ways to do it, but we'll see.
Okay, so of those five guys, I guess we're talking about Simons, Niang, Hauser, Horford, Luke Kornet. Who do you think is most likely to be on this roster heading into training camp in October? Who do you think is the biggest priority for them to keep on this team?
I would say Kornet and Horford, because Brad called those guys a priority.
Yeah, but no one asked him about Sam Hauser. He's already under contract.
Nobody asked about Luke Kornet and Al Horford.
Ooh, nice retort, my friend. Well played.
Yeah.
No one asked about him. They just brought it up.
I could get you exactly what the question was. Hold on a second. Let me find this.
I just find it difficult to figure out how you're going to sign both of those guys. You have to shed some serious salary, unless Horford's coming back for a minimum, and you can get I guess on an exception for Luke Kornet. You're just going to have to, like, they're already over the cap, even if they create.
He was asked about offseason priorities and green light to stay in tax, and part of it was, there is no question our priorities would be to bring Al and Luke back. Those guys are huge parts of this organization. Now, of course, he already has Sam under contract, so that doesn't necessarily preclude keeping Sam from one of his priorities. And I do think they would like to keep Sam. Like, he's a young guy. He shoots the hell out of the basketball. He's on a very reasonable contract. I think you look to shed salary in other ways, but at the end of the day, if you want to get under the luxury tax, and Sam is like one way to do it, then you got to think about it.
It's just hard to, and obviously they can't talk about Simons, they can't talk about Niang because those deals are not official yet. It's just there have to be a way to shed salary if you're going to take back Horford or Kornet, even if those guys are on low deals. They just added money to whatever they give to Hugo. It's not going to be a lot, but it's still like $2.5 million. And so it's just going to be, I think the Celtics are still going to deal. I just think it's interesting what their approach to next season would be in terms of just the big man on the rotation. Obviously, he said it's a priority bringing both of those guys back. But is Luke Kornet like a long-term answer at the center position? Is Amari Williams? Is Neemias Queta? Do you think they have the guy on their roster that they want in teams to go? But I think that's a kind of a big question.
I think Luke, Luke and Al were their two best centers last year, or at least, like, Kristaps was very productive, but the Celtics played the best with Luke or Al on the court next to their best players. And so I think that's one interesting part of their offseason, or their desired offseason, if they do bring Luke and Al back. Like, those are the guys they played the best with. They lost Drew and Kristaps. Among their rotation guys, those were the guys that they played the worst with. if you look at lineup data, on-off data, stuff like that. So I think that's interesting. And obviously, like contracts had something to do with that. What you could get back for those guys had something to do with that. There were a lot of factors to the moves that they've made, but I think it is interesting. And so, yeah, I think Luke Kornet could be a contributing center for years to come. Al, obviously, he's later in his career. There aren't many years left there, even if he does return. I do think, like, if your centers are those two guys, you're probably going to be looking for your center of the future at some point, eventually. But I don't think you have to rush it, because I think you can play really good basketball with Al and Luke as long as you bring those guys back.
And considering it's an off-season priority, we're definitely going to be looking forward to see how the Celtics shed salary, see how, if they bring back Horford and Kornet. There's still a lot of moves to be made, and we'll be here for you on Still Poddable to talk about it. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you want more Still Poddable, go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. We'll be back next week, talk about anything that happened over the weekend with the Celtics, try to figure out what they're doing with the rest of the salary cap. And we're going to get ready for Summer League. Will Hugo be going? I don't know. Big questions moving forward. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Be back next week with more Still Poddable.
Still Poddable, Still Poddable. The Boston Celtics, Still Poddable, Still Poddable. Oh.